Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the SaaS Sessions podcast. Today we have Shailesh Ghorpade on the show with us. Shailesh has played leadership roles at companies like Birla Global, Tata Finance, Infosys, and more. He's currently the founding managing partner and CIO at Exfinity Venture Partners. Exfinity is a tech fund backing enterprise B2B companies in the India and India-US corridor. So their portfolio includes companies like Moengage, Match10, Locus, and more. So hey Shailesh, such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks Sunil for hosting me and hello everyone.
Yeah, actually, when I mentioned your portfolio, so Ravi from Moengage was on the show, long time ago,
Yeah,
and it was really great talking to him, seeing their journey, and I think they have done like really well in the mobile engagement space, and grown a lot in the Southeast Asia market.
that is correct. That is
hmm
correct.
So yeah, I
We are
kind of
very
gave.
proud of Moengage and the way it has shaped up. I
Mhm.
think it's a great story for Indian
Yeah,
SaaS.
totally. So I kind of gave like a very short and very quick intro on you. So can you like tell us more about yourself and how did you start Xfinity and how you currently working with Xfinity and scaling that up?
Yeah, thanks Sunil. So essentially we started Xfinity, you know, the process began in late 2013 and I was having a chat with my ex-colleagues. I was working in the corporate strategy and planning side, so worked with a lot with the leadership team at Infosys. And Mohandas Pai and Bala were, obviously someone that I worked very closely with. And we were chatting in around 2013, and we said that look, the whole IT sector, that we have seen from 90s to 2000s was undergoing a cataclysmic change in terms of, with the advent of cloud. I would say that entrepreneurship was getting sort of democratized, and we said that look, there's a huge space for someone to play a role in the enterprise tech side, and that is what we thought we understood best. We didn't understand consumer tech, and we said that we'll build an operating team which will have people with strong operating backgrounds. So it's not about just giving capital, but provide a lot of other inputs in terms of whether it is go to market side or hiring or
hmm
scaling up companies or governance, etc. And that's how we built a team around, and we got Girish Paranjpe, who's ex-co-CEO of Wipro, and Deepak Gahsas, who
hmm
co-founded iFlex, arguably the first product company out of India in core banking,
hmm
and Rajiv Kuchal, who was CEO of OnMobile, and prior to that, he was really instrumental in scaling up ProGeonor, which is now Infosys BPO.
hmm
We said that this is, and my other partner Chinu Senthil Kumar came on board, who was ex Intel. We said that this is how we'll build a team and work on the enterprise tech side. We thought that was a sector that needed some focus, and I think we were probably, if I'm not mistaken, the first fund that focused exclusively on enterprise tech. Now we have
hmm
quite a few, and I think it just validates our hypothesis. Good to have other folks joining and contributing to the cause. Yeah. So we are now in
Nice.
our third fund. We did our first two funds. First fund was in 2014, which we're now in the process of exiting. That was a small
hmm
fund of 125 crores. The second was 300 crores that we raised in 2016, and now we are on a third fund of 500 crores, which we are raising.
hmm
The focus, we remain steadfast to the cause of enterprise tech.
Right.
And as you rightly said, the Indo-US corridor is something that we work on.
Makes
We are
sense.
sector agnostic. We are not really fixated on any particular technology. We are
hmm
primarily focused on three things: what is the use case and how big it is,
hmm
what kind of technology is backing the startup, and how strong is the moat, and of
hmm
course the founding team, which
Totally.
which everyone looks at. So
Makes sense. And what's your, even in the enterprise B2B segment, right? Like SaaS is really scaling up very quickly in India, in the Indian market, right? And I think COVID, whatever happened in the past or this year, like 2020, has given a lot of companies like a level playing field where, a lot of companies have, they can start new or they have the confidence now they some the ecosystem has evolved so much that just VCs like you and other investors and other founders who have successfully raised money seed round series A and now they're at they're profitable. So these are all offering help to the people who are just starting up. So how has COVID changed all these different aspects in terms of just starting up a new company and getting funds and then going from there?
Yeah. So my view has been, Sunil, that the first 2 months of COVID, really March and April, were probably the most impacted months because people were still grappling with what is happening, and the cases kept going up, and as Sequoia rightly called it, the black swan event at that point of time. But after that, I even earlier I had written a paper on that, but I thought that this presents a great opportunity, and it's not, COVID is not a great opportunity, let me be clear, but it's something that is terrible that has happened to. But every crisis presents an opportunity, kind of a thing, and I'm a believer of that. And I think post COVID, what has happened is, what we are seeing is, at a macro level, enterprises have realized that there needs to be a strong push towards digitization. There needs to be a strong push towards automation. And how do you really make your processes more automated, more efficient? How can you make customer experiences more immersive? Because nobody's venturing out, and nobody's going out to stores or malls or whatever. And hence, you have to evolve into models, or the technology has to be deployed to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that you continue to serve your customers and grab
Mm-hmm.
new customers and retain them. So I think one is, of course, what we are seeing across the board in our portfolio also, that automation, digitization has led to a lot of impetus, particularly in the B2B enterprise space.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that has also helped is that, particularly for SaaS, is that everyone wants to conserve cash, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore a paper user model is always a better model, because
Right.
it just sort of links everything to opex, and
Mm-hmm.
rather than investing. So I think that becomes very good. And as since companies, and since sales guys are not meeting companies and all of that, so a remote selling model also works very effectively post COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
so that has also led to a lot of traction around it. And given the fact that 6 trillion plus money has been printed, and there's a lot of QE that has happened post COVID, so obviously there's a lot of liquidity that has flowed into the system,
Mm-hmm.
and that has resulted in the valuations going back to the levels of pre COVID.
Yeah.
So the funding is back, the valuations are back, the deals are being signed, the customer traction is high, we
Mm-hmm.
see good customer metrics across the board.
Mm-hmm.
There are some areas where pricing is under pressure for sure, but otherwise, I think this fairly, I think the tech sector has bounced back very strongly.
Totally. And what is your take on, let's say, companies who would choose India as their primary market, like SaaS companies, like targeting just India as a market versus SaaS companies targeting global market, like they want to start globally itself, like they don't want to just stick in India. They want to start with Southeast Asia, or they want to start with Middle East, or US for that matter. So what's your take on that?
Sunil, so my view is that Indian market is still work in progress.
Hmm.
And if you look at even Indian SaaS companies, I would say that about 75 to 80% of the revenue accrue from global
Yeah.
markets and not in
Hmm.
Indian markets. And this has got something. I think this has to change.
Hmm.
But what has happened is that it is also the way our culture works, and then we need high touch
Hmm.
sales. We can't really download a software from cloud and get going. We need support. We evaluate companies based on their balance sheets, etc. Enterprises, I'm saying, primarily.
Hmm.
And so that is the reason why the markets in India, particularly on a paper use, they don't, how can I pay every month? And so the mindsets have to change, and for that I think there's got to be a lot of evangelism that needs to be done. I think on the
Hmm.
company, the Indian market is good. It could be a large market per se, but people have to realize, and the CTOs in India have to realize that that moving applications to cloud
Hmm.
gives you a lot of flexibility. It converts a lot of your development time or maintenance time, etc. You get the
Hmm.
best of breed solutions on cloud. These solutions have been perfected across markets with a lot of data, but you have to get reconcile yourself to the fact that this is going to be a low touch engagement model. You're not going to have
Hmm.
someone at your beck and call, come there, service, support, etc. So that market, I would think, has to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
is it may evolve over a period of time, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, it's a work in progress. Let us put
Yeah.
it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so after hearing you speak on like, in the Indian market, I could see, after speaking to like many VCs and investors on the previous State of SaaS in India episodes on the show, I feel like, there are certain set of challenges that are there in the ecosystem, right? Like there could be market challenges where, the market is not ready, or there might be some tech challenges. Maybe there might be some talent challenges that, companies are finding it very difficult to find talent across different functions, and there might be some different challenges as well, right? So the multiple challenges. So what are some of the challenges that you have seen with let's say your portfolio, and like how has Xfinity helped your portfolio overcoming these different challenges with respect to tech or building talent, or figuring out what market to go behind, or just being the back, like supporting the founders in like decisions and stuff.
So, Sunil, it is not a one size fit all answer. I mean,
Yeah,
there are
yeah, yeah.
different, companies and in different spaces, and for each one,
Hmm.
the solution is different. I think when you
Yep.
look at SaaS, I'm not a great believer that the Indian market will deliver you the goods in terms of either size or revenue productivity or profitability. So that is one part of the story. But as I said, it is work in progress, and we have to work towards making Indian CTOs realize in the benefits of SaaS, and how we can do that.
Hmm.
However, I'm looking at Indian enterprises. They have been far more forthcoming in embracing other aspects of digitization,
Hmm.
and they have their. So, for example, we have a company called Locus,
Yeah.
and Locus essentially has built quite a few products around the logistics area,
Hmm.
primarily around routing, but really addressing various aspects of Indian markets, which,
Hmm.
and deliver better outcomes in terms of logistics costs, better fulfillment, better adherence to SLAs, better fleet management, etc. So, and there have been Indian corporations like, Marico or Unilever or
Hmm.
ITC, or they're really working with them. They're traditional corporates, right? So I'm not talking of Big Basket, Licious, and others who also work with them, but those are the new age companies. They embrace technology more faster. But I'm
Hmm.
seeing a lot of Indian traditional corporates, and including some 3PL players who have really embraced digitization. So I would say that there are proactive Indian enterprises who
Hmm.
look at technology differently, and they obviously see the benefits of deploying cutting edge technology to better their processes and better their competitiveness. And we've seen that with Street Den also.
Hmm.
Now quite a few Indian corporations are looking at implementing it, particularly on the personalization side.
Yeah. Hmm.
And most of the Indian enterprises, as you know, they have been saddled with legacy systems,
Hmm.
and they are sitting on a wealth of data. But the fact is that they don't really have any mechanism to, for example, crunch that data into better outcomes and better
Hmm.
insights into
Hmm.
what they can deliver. So I think there are a few companies that are working on giving them that AI, platform on top of it, or really how do I make sense of the data that you have,
Hmm.
and deliver better outcomes on personalization, on bundling offers, etc. So I'm seeing that so as I said, all is not lost. There is a huge market in India for certain products. Whether for SaaS, I'm not particularly sure. And I think that I said it has to evolve. It will
Hmm.
evolve over a
Hmm.
period of time.
Hmm.
Indian BFSI is very, among the sectors, is among the most tech savvy and, open to new ideas. So
Yeah.
some sectors are ahead of the rest. Some sectors are catching up,
Right.
like manufacturing and all. I think there is enormous, because if India has to become the manufacturing hub,
Hmm.
it has to look very, very differently at technology and
Totally.
become competitive. And that is one area that I believe, areas like manufacturing, areas like agriculture, which constitute, say 25% of our GDP,
Hmm.
those are the areas that we need to really look at tech and transform ourselves and become more competitive, and where the progress has been slow, but it's happening.
Yeah.
It
Hmm.
could be faster for sure.
Totally. No, really makes sense. And I've talking about Matt Street, and so I've met Ashwini, and I've been in their office once for some work, and Really great that what kind of the product that they're building. So according to you, what can be done by these Indian SaaS companies to make the ecosystem better, right? Because if it's like these companies who are in India, only they can make the ecosystem better.
So, it's what I think is we have, let's say, for example, and to make it very simplistic, we have two kinds of companies in India, right? We have the
Mm-hmm.
startups and the new age companies, including the
Mm-hmm.
telecom giants, etc., and who are very,
Mm-hmm.
very amenable to using tech SaaS, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I said, BFSI is very amenable, and then there are the other traditional companies. You could call them the CPG companies, manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
areas. So those are the companies which are a little more, you could say, reticent to use these products. Having said that, I think what I think we need to do is really to build the Indian market. There is, as
Yeah.
I said, needs to you need to develop the market, create a market,
Mm-hmm.
which can come through evangelization, conferences, etc. Create role models.
Mm-hmm.
If there are CTOs who have deployed SaaS and
Mm-hmm.
on top of their legacy system, doesn't matter,
Mm-hmm.
because SaaS gives you some different outcomes completely,
Mm-hmm.
and make role models of them, ask them to share their views on what benefits they have derived in terms of business benefits
Mm-hmm.
or things like that, and how flexible it is, how easy it is to deploy these solutions,
Mm-hmm.
but the kind of support that they have had even remotely. And those are the kind of experiences that we need to really carry through, and make sure that we have role models, we have people who talk about it, so that there are others then who can actually break that ceiling and say that, hey, look, even I want to try it,
Mm-hmm.
and so on. And we have some great companies in India, right? SaaS companies coming out of India. We have some great enterprises in India. I
Yeah.
think when we are looking at really competing with China, and technology could be the biggest leveler, in terms of really enhancing that competitiveness. And
Mm-hmm.
nothing would be more fruitful or more gratifying to every Indian that we really use Indian SaaS companies to power some of our processes of Indian
Mm-hmm.
enterprises and make them really more leaner, efficient, faster,
Yep.
delivering better outcomes. Yeah, but it is a process, and we'll have to create that synergy together,
Mm-hmm.
and build more, as I said, more role models, and build more evangelization around it. It will happen.
Got it. Yeah, no, for sure it will happen. Like, it's just about how can we accelerate the process, right? Of let's say it will happen in 10 years and what can we do now? Like, and what can you do as leaders
See,
in
nothing
this?
succeeds like
Mhm.
success, right? So, and if you have someone from your own fraternity, like
Yeah.
we always say that, look, you can tell everything to your customer, but if you have a
Hmm.
customer referral, that works best with other customer.
Yeah.
Similarly, with this, right? So if you have Indian corporations, there are quite a few Indian corporations who are at the forefront of deploying SaaS. Make them role
Hmm.
models and allow, create forums, create things where they can talk to other CTOs,
Hmm.
and that is the only way where others will then get more confidence to
Hmm.
bite the bullet. And that is how it works, right? So
Totally. Hmm.
you talk of network effects in a different way, but you
Hmm.
create that network effects among CTOs. Hard to do, but it can be done,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
then they speak the same language, and they
Totally. Yeah.
understand each other very well.
Yeah, it definitely can be done for sure. Like I believe in that. So you talked about role models, right? So according to you, like who a few CEOs who you see as role models, like which other companies are looking up to in the Indian ecosystem?
I don't want to name anyone, but as I said, if you look
Mm-hmm.
at BFSI sector,
Mm-hmm.
you look at the media and publishing, you look at telecom sector,
Mm-hmm.
and of course you look at all the startups who have gone on to become big,
Mm-hmm.
right? These are all cases. There are interesting case studies where they have deployed wide ranging SaaS products to deliver better outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Now if you look at BFSI, and this is really a sector which is regulated, which never wanted to go to cloud, and but the sector that is regulated where reputation risks are high, and that sector is embracing technology because they know that this is enabling them to reach out to customers in a much better way, for example, or to get new
Mm-hmm.
customers, to engage with them, to cross sell and upsell products,
Mm-hmm.
to get a higher share of the wallet. And they have deployed all wide range of products, and all of them,
Mm-hmm.
particularly all the private banks, NBFCs, who are the larger NBFCs and all, and they've all benefited out of it. So you don't have to go far. There are significant amount of, as I said, role models in very regulated and very, in sectors that are highly competitive, who have benefited out of it. And it's just that we have to get them out of the closet, come, let them come out in the open, talk about their experiences on what was their, experience in dealing with Indian SaaS companies and what benefits they have derived. And I'm sure there will be many other adopters who look up to them because they are really the industry captains as of now. And if they talk about it, I'm sure many others will follow.
No, yeah, like, really, really great, like, getting your insights and getting your views on the Indian like ecosystem. So what do you think, is like, obviously no one can predict what's going to happen in 2021, but let's say with respect to what we've seen in 2020, you said earlier that, we have already seen like, the funds and the funding going back to the pre-COVID days. So what do you expect in 2021?
So, I have a different take on this. I don't think the two things, the COVID will not go anywhere, right? The
Yeah.
vaccine will come and we don't know when it will come.
Uh-huh.
But even the vaccine will have limited usage in the sense that it is normally what we hear, it is typically for any flu vaccine is valid only for a year. So every year you have to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
So this is something that we will have to learn to live with, and we'll have to manage the COVID better with vaccine, and of course with other drugs that might come to manage if you contact COVID. But I think I am not going by the stock markets, because stock markets react, like for example Zoom went down but the shares of travel companies went up. But
Exactly.
those are, those are the ways of the stock market. I am looking at a more secular trend, and the secular trend for me is very clear that with COVID, without COVID, or whatever it is, that enterprises will continue to aggressively digitize and automate. So that is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
you know there is more than enough liquidity in the system which is going to power that innovation. So
Totally.
you will not be short of capital. That is what I can tell you. The only thing is that you have to not run short of ideas. So I
Yeah.
think the capital will not be a constraint to grow in terms of building a business. Or if you have the right idea, you've identified a right niche, you have the right tech, you have a right product, capital is not going to be a constraint, whether in 2021 or 22. So that's very clear. The question is really, and particularly given the fact that we are looking at SaaS
Mm-hmm.
as a product, as a topic to discuss, there is a lot of crowding that has happened. So, and whenever crowding happens in a space, what happens typically is that we have seen in other industries is that two things happen. One is consolidation happens. So obviously the stronger players, the better players, will get more and more, they will either acquire companies, and therefore there'll be fewer players.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing that could happen is that there could also be fatalities, because you can't stand up to stronger players, and you somehow meander and lose your way.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing that normally happens when commoditization takes place is there is a pressure on pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, traditionally, SaaS companies are used to a very high gross margin, and that's the way the
Yeah.
model
Yeah.
works. And which is the reason why I said that, look, if more and more enterprises are going towards SaaS, see, SMBs were anyway adopting SaaS in a big way, but enterprises are, the trend I see is more and more enterprises are going towards SaaS.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, companies will have to look at really, how do I cater to enterprises? How do I shorten sales cycles? How do I
Right.
still maintain my gross margin? Because
Mm-hmm.
enterprises have, they can give you volume, so they can push you on pricing.
Right.
So how do I make my products far more, deliver it better? How do I ensure that, because the sales cycle in enterprises are long,
Right.
and you can't afford it, once you've done the hard work and got the customer, you can't afford to churn. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to elevate your processes of implementation, of integrations, of customer success, of account management, of pricing to another level. And that is the thing that you'll have to adopt if you
Right.
have to succeed, because it's not going to be the same playing field. And as more and more enterprises get to SaaS, so obviously, your product has to get better and better, but your ability to engage with the customer, get a higher share of the wallet, making sure that you protect your gross margins,
Mm-hmm.
is something that will come under pressure, is what I see.
Totally. Like this is really insightful, and I'm sure like it's gonna give a good perspective to the audience, right? So like quickly moving on, to the lightning round. Like I have like three lightning questions for you, Shailesh.
I
This
hope
sounds
you don't catch me on the wrong foot. Yeah, but yeah,
no,
go
yeah.
ahead.
I mean, these are like fairly. So yeah, first one, like, what do you know about your work now that you wish you would have known when you first started?
You know, I I always find dealing with startups great fun. There is a lot that I learn on an everyday basis. So what do you know now? I think what do I know every minute is different, practically every day, because working with youngsters who are driven, who have a different take on the world, who design products, considering various aspects. Every day is a huge learning for me. So I wouldn't say what do you know now. I think every day for me is something that I look forward to learn from all our companies, as well as from the general ecosystem at large, from my peers and others. So yes.
Totally. And like second one, what did your biggest professional failure teach you?
I always look at that you have to hang in there. I think what it has taught me is that, particularly in business, it passes through cycles. There are good times and there are bad times. If you are caught in the wrong end of the cycle, it happens. Like many of us thought that this pandemic will probably cause a lot of damage, and something that, like, these things have happened to me as well. And it's always good to remain on course. Stay with your convictions,
Yeah.
see whether your assumptions hold good, whether your hypothesis holds good, whether anything has changed in the market. But stay with your convictions, and things change. So nothing remains permanent, and that is the biggest takeaway that I have, actually.
Nice, nice. And then the last one, right? Like, what's the number one thing that has helped you shorten your learning curve?
Just the having an open mind. So just be open to ideas.
Wow.
Make sure that you're not really fixated on any thought, because people like me, who are quite old, right? Given the youngsters that are like you, who are in the startup scene, and the last thing that you want is a closed mind, that look, this has happened in my lifetime, I have seen this or not. Those are experiences, those are good
Yeah,
to have,
right, right.
and they might teach you something. But really, don't get bogged down by that. Don't get saying that, look, this is what I have seen and all that, and be open to ideas. The world has changed, whether you like it or not, and just keep your mind open. So that is something that I try to religiously do.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
That's really great. So, yeah, thanks a lot, Shailesh, for taking time, coming on the show and sharing all these amazing insights and your experience with us. Really great, and really glad we could do this.
Entirely my pleasure, Sunil, and best wishes to you, and what fix as well. So
Yeah,
do well, and continue to engage with other people, so we can all learn from each other.